Hey everyone, Charles here with Rocky Mountain, and today I'm going to be showing you how to install a Tusk Quiet Glide Adventure skid plate on your KTM 790 or 890 adventure bike. This is also going to work for the Husqvarna Norden 901s. Now when you go to order one of these skid plates, you've got a couple options. So you can get the skid plate alone, or you have the option to get this with some tank covers built in. In either case, this is a massive upgrade over your stock skid plate. We need something that is going to give us good protection when we're out on that 2-track. We want to protect our frame and our engine. So this is what we're using. This is one of the first upgrades we do to any of our adventure bikes. And if you're not familiar with these, they're made from 3/16 inch aluminum, and then it has a 1/4 inch UHMW overlay. So it's super durable, and the UHMW, what's nice about it is it glides over obstacles. It doesn't stick to objects like aluminum does, and it's also quieter when something does hit your skid plate. So those are some of the benefits with it. Now we get some common questions with these skid plates. First one being about oil changes. So when you go to change your oil, we do recommend removing this, and that's just going to help prevent making a mess all over your garage floor. You're not going to have pools of oil sitting on top of this. And then the other thing is, if you are adding a center stand to your bike or already have one, this version of the skid plate is not currently compatible with those center stands. So be aware of those things. Now that said, the install process is straightforward. Let's go ahead and get started. Now over at the bench, we have a couple options for the skid plates. So we've got the black option. This is going to be with the tank guards. And then without the tank guards, you have two color choices. You can get the aluminum or the black skid plate. In either case, you want to go ahead and lay out all of your hardware in order and take a look at your provided set of instructions. Make sure you have everything there and get familiar with the install process. Now, if you haven't picked up a skid plate yet and you need one, you can find these on our website by clicking the link in the description below. To get this done, you're going to need some common hand tools. Now, the hardware groups between the two options for skid plates are a little bit different. So things that are going to apply to everything, that's going to be your 15mm combo wrench, 8 and 10mm sockets, 6mm Allen, T30 and T45 Torx bits. We've got a torque wrench, some Loctite and safety glasses. Now, if you are installing the skid plate with the tank guards, you're also going to need a T40 Torx bit. And if you're installing the skid plate without the tank guards, you're going to need a 4 and 5mm Allen along with a 10mm combo wrench. The first thing you want to do is remove your stock skid plate. Now our 890, it already has a Tusk skid plate on it. So we're going to take a look at our 790 and show that removal process on that bike. Keep in mind, it's going to be a similar process for any of these bikes. And even if you're only installing the skid plate without the tank guards, you're still going to want to remove those stock tank covers, and that's going to help you get your skid plate installed. To do that, we've got 2 bolts in the back. And moving forward, we have 2 underneath the side covers. We also have a little vent tube that we need to disconnect right here. And then we've got 4 bolts in the front, and we can pull the skid plate off. Next, on the right side foot peg, we need to remove the lower mounting bolt. So we're going to use our T45 Torx bit to do that. Pay attention to the spacer. Now we're going to take the M10 by 60mm button head bolt. We're going to apply just a little bit of Loctite, or thread locker, right where that's going into the threads. Put the spacer back in place, and then as we thread this in, we're going to torque it to 33.2 foot-pounds. Next, we have this cup washer, and this recessed side is just going to sit over a weld on that foot peg bracket. slide that on. And then we have our foot peg mount. And then after that, we have our flange nut. And again, we're using some thread locker on here. And we're gonna use a drop of this on pretty much all of the fasteners as we go together. And with this nut, I actually am gonna leave it a little loose for now so we can make adjustments. Next, we can lift the new skid plate into place. And you don't have to have a pancake jack to lift this into place, but that's what we're using. It just makes the job a little bit easier. And we are gonna be reusing the 4 original bolts that were used in the front mounting locations. Again, using some Loctite on those. We'll loosely install them. Now to better show the process, I've removed that pancake jack. You can leave it if you want. But towards the back of the skid plate, we've got a couple of rubber mounts hanging down from our oil pan right here. So we're gonna be using the M6 by 16 millimeter hex head bolts. We're gonna loosely thread those in. And again, we've got Loctite on them. Next, we're gonna install our support bracket, and we're gonna start by installing the M8 by 20 millimeter Torx head bolt. That's going in the top mounting location. And then we've got 2 more of the M6 by 16 millimeter hex head bolts coming up through the bottom. Now we can install the 2 remaining M8 by 20 millimeter Torx head bolts into our foot peg mount. Now with everything loosely installed, we're gonna go back through and tighten down all of the hardware. Now on the skid plates with the tank guards, the charcoal canister hose is not gonna clip back into them. So what you wanna do is just make sure that the hose is rotated away from the exhaust and that it's not pinched. Now moving on, we're going to show you how to install the skid plate without the tank guards. There are a few differences, and we're going to be doing this on our Norden 901. So first thing, again, I'm using the pancake jack, just making it easier. You don't have to have this. So I'm going to raise that into position. And then we're going to be starting at these back 2 mounting locations right in the middle. We're using the M6 by 16 millimeter button head bolts. And again, we're using a little bit of Loctite on each of these fasteners. And just like the other skid plate, we're leaving all of the hardware loose until one of the final steps, and that way we can make adjustments if we need to. Next, we're going to press in on the front of the skid plate, and we're going to use the supplied M6 by 20 millimeter hex head bolts, and we're going to use those for the front 4 mounting locations. Now by the right foot peg, we've got this cup washer, and again, the recessed side, that's going to be facing the outside of the bike. And I'm going to use a screwdriver to make this easier. You can just push the skid plate out of the way if you want. But with that popped in place, now we can take our M10 by 60 millimeter button head bolt, reinstall your spacer, and then with this, like I said, I'm putting a little Loctite on everything, so about right there is where this one's going to be. And I'm going to torque that to 33.2 foot-pounds. Then with that, little Loctite on the nut, and I'm going to thread that on. And again, just leaving this a little loose. Next up, we have our mid support bracket. So in the top mounting location, we've got the M8 by 20 millimeter hex head bolt. And then coming up through the bottom, we have our M6 by 16 millimeter hex head bolts. Now for the stock tank covers, the main difference between the Husqvarna and the KTMs is going to be the middle mounting location. So Husqvarna, you've got this little tab that's going to hook in there. KTMs are going to have a bolt going up. So we'll start by setting that piece into place, and then we've got the two original bolts that are going to go into the front. Next, we're going to take our M6 by 20 millimeter button head bolts. Going through that back mount in the tank cover and into our new skid plate. And we've got that nylock nut. We're going to put that on the back side. We'll do all of these same steps on the other side for the other tank cover. And then we're going to go back through and tighten down all of our hardware. And then last, you want to make sure you relocate your charcoal canister hose. All right, so that's it for installing the Tusk Quiet Glide Adventure skid plate on your KTM 790 or 890 and the Husqvarna Norden 901s. Now, if you have any questions about the install process, leave those down in the comments. And if you need to pick one of these up, you can find them on our website. Just click the link in the description below. We offer free shipping on orders over $75, so take advantage of that and subscribe to our channel for more helpful content. I'm Charles with Rocky Mountain ATV MC. Thanks for watching.